Hi, I'm Jeremy at the TRQ Research and Development Facility, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about headlights and generally what's involved in replacing them. They're usually pretty easy on a lot of cars, but there are some tips and tricks that I can give you along the way. If you're looking for headlights for your car, find that TRQ brand because it's rigorously tested, direct fit, and it's going to work properly the first time. So let's get started. Here we have a headlight, and headlights installed differently on every car. But there's kind of like three different common methods. The first, like this one, is a couple of bolts. So you can see there's a nut here, a bolt here, and there's usually a couple others like around the headlight. You take those bolts out, and then the whole headlight housing comes right off. The next method is on some trucks, and probably a few cars, there's actually no bolts at all that hold the headlight in. It's just a couple of clips. So all you do is you go to the back of the headlight, you pull up a couple of clips, and the whole headlight housing comes right off. It's really, really convenient to do. You could do it on the side of the road if you needed to. The last method is probably the hardest to do, but more and more newer cars are coming this way, where you actually have to remove the front bumper cover to access some of the bolts that are on the bottom of the headlight. And once you've removed the bumper cover and gotten those bolts out, then you take the upper bolts out and the whole housing will come off. That is by far the most difficult headlight replacement you'll do, and it is becoming more common on newer cars. As for the bulbs themselves, a lot of bulbs can be replaced without removing the actual housing. You just kind of reach in the back, you turn the bulb like 90 degrees, and you can pull the bulb out and you can replace the bulb itself. There are some instances where you do need to take the whole housing off, or you need to move your battery, or you need to move an air box to replace the bulbs. It really depends on the vehicle itself. But changing headlight bulbs or changing headlight housings is almost always a do-it-yourself job, totally doable in the driveway. Even if you have to replace or remove the bumper, it's a totally do-it-yourself or friendly job. If you do happen to have a vehicle where it's required to remove the bumper cover to get to the headlight bolts, I'll give you a couple of tips on how to do that. Over here by the wheel, there's almost always a bolt right here where the fender and the bumper meet each other. And they're usually hidden behind a plastic panel. So what you'll want to do is remove the plastic panel and you'll find a couple of bolts in there. Up at the top of the bumper, there's often some bolts or push pins that will hold the upper bumper cover together. Sometimes the grill and the bumper are all one piece, sometimes they're not. And then along the bottom of the bumper, right down here, there's going to be a handful of clips or bolts that you'll have to remove to get the bumper cover off. And lastly, if you have fog lights, you always want to make sure you unplug those, because if you pull your bumper cover off without unplugging your fog lights, you'll damage the wiring or maybe even the fog light itself.